Welcome to Horror Movies with TNA. Each episode we're going to pick a film, talk about it and rate it. Word of warning, there will be spoilers. This week we're talking about
RAW 2016. The student life. Endless parties, waking up in a stranger's bed, chewing on a member of the faculty. A film that demonstrates that following in your parents' footsteps can be dangerous, and that the education system's gone to shit.
Look, I mean, it might surprise people, but
it is with great pleasure.
I'm going to do all my lines again.
I thought it was utter bullshit. Check the sounds that make pounds.
Seems a school full of wankers.
So, there you go. There's no reason other than I like to talk. I like to write what I see on the screen and then relay it into the podcast.
It's raw, isn't it?
2016, also known as Grave.
That doesn't make any sense. Do you want to try and pronounce
Julia Ducournau?
I mean,
shall I try again?
You could have just said Julia for the
Julia Ducournau.
But she directed and wrote it.
This was her first film as well, first attempt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that, that's interesting.
And it's Belgium. It was in French subtitles. Well, are we getting into it straight away? Can I?
Let me do housekeeping first. Justine. I've only three characters. Justine, played by Gavance Marillier.
Housekeeping.
Alexi,
it's a mop.
Played by Ella Rumpf, and Adrienne, played by Rabba Nate Ofella. Apologies to everybody around the world.
We've got, to be honest, I think we've got some French listeners. Yes. And they're,
I do apologise for our pronunciations.
Yeah,
it's not intentional. We're just heathens.
Yeah, we're
yes.
thick as pig shit, really, is what we're saying.
We're trying our best. So Justine, who's our main character, Alexi, who's the sister, and Adrienne, who's Justine's roommate, and we'll get to all that, but those are the main characters. Everybody else is kind of superfluous to the story.
Yeah,
those are the key ones.
Well, there's the parents.
Shall we make a start? This is the movie. This is it. The film opens with a deserted, expansive road in rural France, and a distant figure throws themselves into the road to force a car to swerve and forcing it to collide with a train. That's the initial scene straight away.
Yeah, and I didn't realise it, because I kind of, I don't know, I think I was looking at my book writing, and I thought, oh, this is a good shot. I like a long shot.
Yeah, it's quite a nice shot, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and you just think, oh, look at you, oh shit, car crash.
And that's where that scene ends as well. Yeah. And that's not explained at the beginning, but it gets explained later on, but that's not explained at all. And it moves on then. What's going on? We find out in an hour. We now meet Justine and her parents. They're a family of strict vegetarians. Justine's being taken to veterinarian college, university.
I don't know.
School. I don't know what it is.
I don't know, but I'm going to make a number of comments about it being the least strict shithole of a school ever, because the initiation they have to do.
All the things that the first years have to go through, the rookies.
It's up to. I mean, to be honest, that was the most annoying bit.
Yeah, I found it really annoying. The narrative throughout the film tells us that she's a highly talented student.
But that's because
she's some kind of so-called genius.
Yeah, that's because her mother and father went there. Yeah. Because the professor's going, oh, well, because of your family, I'm going to give you some shit.
When the parents drop her off at the university, her sister Alexia is meant to meet them, but she's nowhere to be seen because she's off partying.
Well, to be honest, and all the way through it, Alexia's an absolute cunt.
Well, no, I think the sisters have a bond, but she doesn't come across as a very likeable character, does she? But anyway, listen.
I'm telling you.
Anyway, so the parents drop her off. They kind of wait for a little bit, and then they just fuck off. They can't be asked to wait.
Yeah, well, mainly I wrote down here, Dad's a knob. Because he just goes, Alexia was meant to meet you here. All right, she's not. Let's go.
No, I interpreted that scene slightly differently because I thought the mum was quite clingy and overprotective. And I think he was saying, let her do her thing. This is her moment to go off. She's now becoming an adult. Off you go.
Oh no, I took it opposite way. I just thought the dad was a knob.
First night in her dorm, she's awoken first by her roommate, Adrian, who she's first introduced to him. He's meant to be a girl, a roommate, but it turns out he's Adrian, he's gay. And this is really where all the tiresome, tormenting, hazing, humiliation, shouting, stomping,
hazing, that's right.
Chanting, bullying. This is where it all starts, of the kind of the first years, as they call them, rookies. This is when it all starts. And it kind of wore me down by the end of the film. But it was interesting because I thought, what a bunch of assholes. They've got like ski masks on and they throw the mattresses out. They throw all their belongings out the window. And then they're herded.
I can imagine some of that happens at some universities.
But not to that extreme, maybe. But
no.
Then they're kind of like herded like cattle. It kind of goes silent then, and they're kind of crawling through a space.
This is the best scene I thought was in the entire film, where they're like on their hands and knees and they're crawling, which looks like through an industrial.
It's just
bin.
like a darkened area. It almost looks like an underground car park.
Yeah, I think what you find out, they've made like a nightclub for some fucking reason near the morgue in the recesses of this college. But they're like crawling around and it's really quiet and it's quite well done. There's like 2 rows of them. But then it kind of, for me, ruined it a bit because then it was like a nightclub scene out of Blade or something.
I quite like the fact that it went from that contrastive because it was complete silence and then the idea was they were being led to this party, so the party's got to be like a party, hasn't it?
Yeah, but then it did the usual thing where they're all dancing around in a party. And that went on. There's a lot of, to be honest, the bits I didn't like were the party scenes where it goes on a bit too much, where she's just dazed. And
so you're kind of bombarded with like the kind of debauchery of like the student party.
And she there she sees her sister, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's where she. I actually say the music was really good in the party. I really liked it, which was The Do, with the song Despair, Hangover and Ecstasy, which was a really good song. Yeah, so there's drinking, nakedness, debauchery. Justine finds her sister who's wasted. And then the 3 of them, because there's Justine, Alexei and Alexi's dog. She would have a German Shepherd at the university.
I know. And in a nightclubby kind of underground thing, I thought was bullshit. But that's a plot device, isn't it?
Let's not get hung up on that.
Yeah.
So the 3 of them escape the party and then they scoot off and Alexei shows Justine some of the photos and the walls in the university where their parents had gone through similar hazing and all this shit that they have to go through.
Yeah.
She showed her that the parents had gone through exactly the same thing because the parents had met at university as well.
And at that point, that's why I thought, maybe it's one big massive cult. The hazing and all that pushes them to eat each other or whatever. Don't worry about the quality, the content shit.
Party night anyway. Justine rolls in at daybreak from the party. Interspersed throughout the film we have these different lessons where, there's a lesson with a horse.
Fucking hell.
That was quite interesting. Watching that.
I thought, to be honest, I just wrote, obviously allowed the filmmakers to watch this procedure because it's a proper procedure happening. Yeah. It's a real horse.
Kind of hoisted up and lifted and carried away. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, I don't know why they turned it upside down. Yeah, and they've injected it and they put it to the ground. They push it against a padded wall because it's a fucking massive horse. Yeah. But then you don't see what happened. And the worst bit for me was the mouth bit where in the horse's mouth, they have to crank it open.
I assume that's quite a standard procedure. Isn't it?
I'm probably just very squeamish for reality kind of stuff. Yeah. But I was getting worried because I thought, I knew this, I'd heard again, that there's a few disturbing images, and with a few French films, and we could talk about Frontiers and Martyrs and all that, they push it to the fucking limit, don't they, with that kind of...
Yeah, this is not quite this...
Oh no, definitely.
I actually expected this film to be a lot worse than it actually was, but...
same here. But having said that,
High Tension and Inside and Martyrs and Frontiers and all those, this is slightly different to those.
No, this is far more arty, I would say, all the way through.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah. That's it.
We had one of the veterinary lessons.
Vet lessons.
Then we switched to more of the kind of chanting. What's the song? The song, they're outside now and all the students are chanting,
"Their dicks proud up in the air. They are men with giant balls for her."
And this is the point when there's blood thrown over them. It's this thing that all the new students go through, where their blood's thrown over them.
Again, and we're going to agree, where the bloke at the top that was throwing it and shouting at him, fucking, I could have killed him.
Yeah, he knew.
A British term, seems a school full of wankers.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
But he was like laying the law of what they're allowed to say.
Yes,
You've got to say weird.
You've got to look to the floor. You've got to respect. You are a rookie. You are less than shit. And it's this point that's quite significant when they have to go through this thing of eating a rabbit kidney. And
Yeah.
this is kind of key because obviously Justine is forced to eat one. She protests and refuses, but her sister convinces her to eat it, rather than appearing not to take part in any of the initiations.
Yeah.
So better against her better judgment. And this is really what kind of kicks off Justine's insatiable hunger for meat.
And then, retrospectively, when you look back at it, you think, oh, it's all arty and it's about, there's a subtext. It's not really about eating meat and being a cannibal and all that. But then when retrospectively, you realise, oh, yeah, it's quite a lot simpler than you think, because her mum obviously was saying, you can't eat meat, because if you do, you'll go fucking crazy like your sister.
So she fucking eats this rabbit kidney and she kind of almost throws it up again. But in doing so, in eating that, it gives her a terrible rash. Actually, when she goes and visits the doctor, when the doctor's pulling the bits of skin off, that was the worst bit for me. I thought that was fucking horrible.
Yeah, well, no, I said, what a doctor that...
Yeah, she gives us some kind of stories. But essentially, the eating of the meat gives Justine, our main character, kind of a full body rash that she then has to go to the doctors with.
I'll tell you what, the worst bit was before that, when she's in bed and she starts itching.
Scratching. Oh,
and she keeps...
furious scratching.
Yeah, just like keeps itching and itching and itching and itching. And you can tell she's actually doing it, even though it's obviously on fake.
Yeah.
When I was thinking, fucking hell, that got me more than anything else. Because I hate people scratching themselves. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Dead Skin.
Yeah.
That's the name for a horror film, Dead Skin. Not Dead Snow. "30 minutes in, midnight snack, raw chicken."
Salmonella.
So Justine's waking up in the night, craving meat now. It's all kicked off from her one rabbit kidney.
You think it'd be like a steak or something, and when it's like a chicken fillet, and it looks very, very convincing chicken fillet, you go, oh.
I wonder whether the director's a vegetarian, because all the meat in the film looks horrible. So, I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, it just looks like meat, really.
She's in a meeting with her lecturer where he believes that she's been cheating, and all the while she's chewing on her hair nervously. After she's finished with the lecturer, she runs off to the restroom, bathroom, and she starts throwing up loads and loads of hair.
You know, I've had dreams. This bit didn't get me, but I'm just thinking, you know, when you get hair in the back of your throat and you're trying to grab it, or you know what I mean. That it got me a bit because she just keeps pulling it. It never comes out.
It did make me laugh though, because she gets some advice from the girl in the next room who suggests using 2 fingers will make it come up faster. And then when Justine leaves the bathroom, the girl's smiling at the mirror, which I thought was
ace. I put
her. She's almost kind of proud of herself, and she's smiling in the mirror.
It just made me laugh because
she was very chill.
Was mental.
She's very happy. Justine, hey, hang on. Oh,
are you going to go on about the bloke pissing?
No, well, yes. Actually, Justine then goes and hunts her sister down, and they go out for a quiet drink on the roof somewhere. And that is where Alexei shows Justine how to piss standing up, which Alexei can obviously do through lots of practice, but Justine cannot, and she pisses all over herself. So there's a little a scene that's meant to show them kind of...
Her sister stands upright, pulls her pants down, and instead of crouching, she goes, if you force your hips forward and try, you'll piss forward. And it shows her pissing like a man. There's something like dog-like about it, again. But I think there's something about them being like animals and dogs. And there's definitely a running theme that I haven't made up in my head. Oh, yeah.
She finds, when she's spending time with her sister, she also finds the same cream in her bathroom cabinet that she was given by the doctor to deal with the rash from eating the meat. So straight away there's a bit of a hint that maybe there's something to do with the family.
Yes.
There's a condition or something. Yeah. Now we move on to Brazilian scene.
So
uncomfortable watching Brazilian scene.
This is where it creeps towards where I've literally drawn a line and go, and now it's a horror film. Well, it's such a weird scene.
Alexi suggests that she starts by removing Justine's facial hair, and then it moves towards Justine on the bed, and obviously her sister's going to give her a Brazilian. Wax.
The shot of it as well.
It's kind of done in slow motion, and then there's a shot where the dog's always kind of sniffing around and paying far too close attention to the proceedings, where he's dipping his head down, which is just uncomfortable viewing. But anyway, the dog's having a snoop around down there as well.
But again, you realise afterwards that it's a plot device. Well, why have you got a bloody dog in your dormitory? That wouldn't fucking happen. Yes. Christ.
So she's waxing her sister to give her a Brazilian. She's removed some of the hair, and then she's applied another piece, and she can't seem to, for whatever reason, rip the final bit off.
I don't know, but it looked fucking realistic.
Yeah.
That it was pulling.
It was quite close up.
By the way, there's pants on at this bit. It's around the sides.
Yes,
it's
not.
Thank Christ.
It's not gratuitous, is it? It's just. It could have been worse. So anyway. Alexi is tugging one bit of the wax and it won't budge, so she goes and gets some scissors, and when she returns to kind of continue cutting or pulling, Justine kicks out and inadvertently her sister cuts her finger off.
Yeah, this is it. Now it's an horror film. But you just hear a slice and you don't see it.
And then she sits up.
Yeah, she sits up and then sees, and her sister faints. And she's got a finger missing. And then she starts panicking, looking for the finger. And the dog is now mooching about, obviously going...
Smell of blood?
Yeah, I don't think dogs do that particularly, but in this instance, this one...
They did in Gerald's game, and they did in this fucker as well.
I can't remember. Justine panicking for her sister, going, I've got to find the finger. She does all the right things. She phones up the ambulance and says, I know to put it in ice. When are you going to be? 15 minutes, okay. She finds a finger, and this is where it goes downhill. Here's one way of putting it.
She calls for help, and while she's waiting for medical assistance, she decides to have a little chew on her sister's finger.
It's brilliant. I think this is very well done. I think she goes to the fridge and you think, she's going to do everything. But in your head, you're going, one, we knew that there was this scene. And two, you think, fucking hell, it won't do that, will it? Maybe she'll just gobble it or down or whatever. But she tries to look for ice and she immediately just slumps against the fridge, looks at the finger, squeezes the blood into her hand, and then you think, that's pretty grim. But it gets grimmer.
Yeah, it's the way she's kind of almost nibbling away at it. It's the way she's kind of chewing on it.
Yeah, but you say, she's tearing away at it.
She's kind of doing it reluctantly at first, and then the music kicks in actually at that point, and then which it really does well because it's almost
brilliant.
like a realisation.
Horror gothic organ goes down.
I thought it was like revelatory.
Oh yeah, it's almost like pastel,
quite dramatic, wasn't it?
And then it went. It's more like, to be honest, that's when I thought, it's like a Dario Argento kind of.
Well, and then I suppose to add to it then is that her sister sits up and watches her as she, with blood round her mouth,
eating her sister's own thing.
Her own finger.
I don't know. That's when I thought. But then, and her sister's crying as well.
Yeah, she's got a tear down her cheek, hasn't she? Yeah.
Because if you imagine you didn't know anything, and then that scene came up, you'd have gone, "Fuck me, what the fuck?"
Actually, it's an interesting point of what's considered horror, because I mean, in isolation, that scene where she inadvertently cuts her finger off and then her sister starts eating it, is that horror per se?
Yeah, I would say that definitely is.
Maybe.
Definitely is. If there's some
as soon as somebody's head explodes, that's horror. Alexei drags Justine away to the hospital. Basically, then we move over to a family waiting for Alexei in the hospital, as obviously she's having her finger treated. I think they've told the parents and anybody that the dog ate the finger, so there's no question.
Yeah, I did get
because again the sisters seem to have this understanding between them even then, so they've kind of told everybody that the dog ate it.
Anyway, the dog's called Quickly, which
I like
confused me on the subtitles.
Yes,
because I went, Quickly took my finger, and I went, is that weird subtitle?
That isn't
wrong.
Why would you pick my mind?
But Quickly is the dog.
Quickly!
As Alexia is being wheeled out after having a finger in the hospital, she's being wheeled out and she goes to bite her nails and she puts up her hand,
that was quite
which is
a good
the one
bit,
with the finger missing, and then swaps it.
Yeah, just a tiny little thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a tiny little thing. Well, it's a bit obvious, but a tiny little thing. I was thinking, but that's when I went, well, this isn't really an art film anymore, because you're taking the piss out yourself.
It's a nice little touch. Alexei drags Justine away and they go off, and Alexei demonstrates to Justine how to get fresh meat. And we go back to the original scene on the road where Alexei demonstrates jumping out into the middle of the road to force a car to crash so that then the unconscious or dead bodies can be lapped, sucked and chewed upon. Lapping at a brain, I put.
Well, she chomps it. She just goes, they're both going to die very soon. I thought this is what you wanted.
She says at one point, very indignantly, Alexei does to Justine when she's horrified, she says, I did this for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems weird. But I tell you why, it's not weird when she finally jumps out, because then you go, oh yeah, that I get why this is happening. It goes back to the first scene. But when they're at the side of the road, I wasn't quite sure. I thought she just said, "Oh, come with me in here," and I thought they were going to have it out about you ate me finger.
Yeah,
mate.
The suggestion was they were going to have a conversation about it, but actually, then you realise that Alexei kind of understands, and she's just going to show her how she can.
Well, you can't get that in the hospital because otherwise you go. Yeah. But did you know, your sister's ate me finger?
Are you?
I want to bite your finger!
So, throughout the film, as Justine's hunger intensifies, it keeps going back to various lessons. They then move over to this lesson where it was nothing other than the fact that they were slicing dogs up, and Justine seemed very matter-of-factly doing it, whereas she was being watched by Adrian, her roommate, who seemed slightly concerned. More tiresome chanting and student bollocks. Then we go to the bit where she's dancing in front of the mirror, sexing it up, becoming more and more confident.
This is where I didn't like it. This is where I went, this is bollocks. I don't need any of this shit. It feels out of place.
But it's meant to be showing her becoming more and more confident, isn't it? More and more sexual, because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It did that at the
yeah, but this is just building on it, isn't it?
I didn't like the music. It had all the lyrics for the music.
The
and
lyrics
they were fucking terrible.
They were very bad. Then they play on the PS4.
Right. Why is it in every fucking film they don't actually play a game ever? Look at the fucking hands.
They did on Woos. They play Bulletstorm. Boom!
No. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why don't they just play the fucking game? They're not using the sticks, so they're not moving around. They never touch the sticks. I mean, why would you? Just play the cunt. Fuck right off. I'm sorry, but it's a bit like method acting. If someone goes, Can you drink that, please?
You,
they don't pour it over their eye and go, oh, I nearly got it in my mouth.
What you're saying is, if De Niro had been playing this, he'd have finished Bloodborne,
yeah.
blindfolded,
yeah.
and he'd have actually stripped down the controller and rebuilt it. That's
yeah.
what I'm like.
He'd have got it, to be honest.
Yeah. Fucking yeah.
You're playing with me?
Is that De Niro?
And I tell you why it annoyed me
playing
more.
with me?
Because her sister, Alexis, said, you need to shoot now. And then she held the controller up and goes like that.
And
not moving out.
And she also said, you need to die now. You need to die.
But I don't think we purposely have ever played a game where one of them needs to die.
She's danced in front of the mirror, sexing it up. You didn't like that. That's fine. Playing the PS4, you didn't like that. That's fine.
No,
although,
I like games. They'd
now,
just be better actors. That's what I'm saying.
Now, listen, here, but they're starting to talk, while they're playing the PS4, you open up and they talk about the incident where she ate her finger, and she does say that her sister tastes like curry, which I thought was quite a nice comment. Then there's a scene where she's under the bed covers and she seems like she's being beaten. I didn't really understand that.
Yeah, and it sounded like
chain or something.
Or coins in a sock.
Yes.
I was thinking metal jacket, but that was
so
soap, wasn't
I'm
it?
going to be openly, what did that scene mean? It didn't really get explained. I suppose it didn't need to be explained, but I didn't understand it. And then she's wandering a corridor.
It was quite...
She wanders into a party, a room.
I agree, it makes no sense. I thought it was quite well done because I wasn't sure what was about to happen next. But I was confused. Like you, I
found
was
that
confused.
disjointed from what she did next, though. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it led into anything. So it was that one little bit. Didn't understand it.
Anyway. I agree with you.
Yeah. She wanders off and wanders into a party where she gets paint thrown on her. She is... What colour is she? She's blue.
Blue paint.
She's blue. She's told to enter a room with somebody who's had yellow thrown over them. Not to come out again until they're green. So essentially they're meant to arrive and sex it up until they're all covered and they become green.
Yeah. But this is the initiation.
It's a very elaborate...
This is the initiation twats again.
Yes. It's very elaborate. She gets carried away because, obviously, sexually, she starts riding with this dude. She gets carried away and bites a chunk out of his lip. You don't actually see that. It kind of... You hear him scream.
Oh, yeah, but fucking hell, it's good. But it effect, isn't it?
Good effect. It looks really good when he wanders out.
His top lip, again...
No, bottom lip. I think it's bottom lip. Or is it top? I can't remember. Bit of his lip. Anyway, it doesn't matter actually. Sorry, I interrupted. Yes, so he's got
I don't know now. But I'll tell you why I say top lip, because then it makes sense.
In relation to what happened earlier. Yeah,
and later on.
But I thought...
And later on with the dad.
Yeah, well, that was the bit I was on about, actually.
You said earlier.
I meant later.
Oh.
Well, I meant earlier because the parents...
because you see... Yeah, but I didn't know that whether the bloke actually had a hair lip.
So she's out of control now. Then she sleeps with Adrian, the gay roommate, doesn't she?
Yeah, this is confusing.
This is a sex scene where she, as it intensifies... I think the build-up to this is that almost she's kind of lusting after Adrian, whether it's as a bit of meat or sexually, because it all gets kind of interwoven, the kind of lust for blood, the bloodlust and the sexual lust.
I don't understand. This is a bit of... I didn't understand why Adrian suddenly goes, and maybe I missed something.
But he never says...
Why does he suddenly go, oh yeah, I'll check
I
his
don't
head.
know if it's in the subtitles, or maybe he's kind of like... Maybe he's
bisexual.
like bisexual.
Or asexual or whatever, yeah.
The climax of the sex scene is that she bites, drawing blood, she bites onto her arm at the kind of climax of that.
Again, because while they're having sex, she's trying to constantly bite him.
She's having to restrain herself, isn't she?
Yeah, how do we say that, you know, do you get excited during intercourse? Don't you, Adam? She constantly tries to do something he doesn't want, so she's trying to bite him on the shoulder or on the neck or something, and he goes, no, stop it. And in the end, she gets that frustrated, and then you realise she's biting her own hand really badly, like blood's being...
Yeah.
But he doesn't make much of a move, he just looks at it, but probably because he's in the throes of...
passion, yeah. I mean, I think that's what it is.
Again, that's what I thought.
Again, you're probably not meant to question his
But
reaction
it's weird. Again, it's a weird thing because blood's coming out, she's looking into the distance, and they're still having sex, and you go, all right, I haven't seen that before. Octopussy.
Yes.
Shit. I don't fucking know what I'm on about.
You wouldn't want to squid up your bum, would you? But
don't knock it till you tried it.
But
hey, I tell you what. You know how much it costs?
What, squid up your bum?
2 squid.
2 squid.
None of this makes sense.
This is great stuff. Oh, save it quick. Fucking hell. So that's the end of that little sexy session. 1 hour and 13 in. Why am I so exact?
No, I don't know why you are.
She gets off her right, another party.
Right.
Let me talk about this because she gets off her face, absolutely off her face at a party, and she ends up being videoed in the mortuary by her sister, who's humiliating her by making her crawl around whilst trying to bite the arm of a corpse. Talk about this scene.
Right. It's right, so the nightclub scene, it goes on far too long. I get all that, and you're trying to do something clever with one take. However, it's not great. The best bit, where she's sitting in the background and in the foreground is a girl licking a bloke's eyeball.
Yeah, that made me uncomfortable.
Fucking Christ, Jesus Christ.
And that bit did go on for a while. And Justine's kind of looking, she's got that kind of fixed gaze that she's had when she was watching Adrian play football as well.
Yeah, I think she's sexually stroke hungry.
Yeah, which they're almost like pieces of meat, aren't they?
And you think something's going to kick off, but I don't get the point of what you were trying to do, other than say, she's really drunk, look what happens at the end of it.
We have this scene in the party where Justine's out of control, and then it cuts to the following morning where she wakes up, and then Adrian takes her to one side and shows her the video that people had recorded of her sister humiliating her in the mortuary, and that is when Justine goes crazy and goes up, and that's when the sisters start having a fight. They're biting each other and they wrestle. Actually, the wrestling bit is the reason why the film's called Raw. A little bit of a wrestling joke for you, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Alexa takes a chunk out of her cheek.
Bites her cheek. And then they're biting onto each other's arms as they're kind of locked in a fight.
But then they just stop, in a way. They just look at each other and go, oh...
Well, some people come up and try and break it up, but to little effect.
And this is the dog bit again. So, you know when... And this scene goes on.
Yeah, it looks like a dog fight where they're being pulled apart.
Yeah, they're being pulled apart and they're literally trying to...
Yeah. And then the two sisters almost kind of stumble away arm in arm together because I think they've just run out of energy and they just kind of walk away together. I quite like the following scene where the students all appear.
It's 5 a.m. or whatever, and they've all got blankets on. And
it's kind of an empty scene, and then they all appear to the music of Marche Freddo Fa by Nada. They all appear.
Jesus.
I like it. Idiot. Justine awakes to find in bed with Adrian. He's had half of his leg tune away, and
This is a bit where I did get a bit confused because I thought, oh right. Like I say, the next day she wakes up and goes, oh, he's dead. But then she pulls back and she goes, why didn't you stop me? In
thinking other words, it's her that's done it.
Yeah. And I went, oh shit. Yeah. Did she actually do it then?
Yeah, well, I think that's the suggestion is at first that she's panicking because she thinks she's done it.
So his leg's absolutely been chewed off. But then she looks at his back and he's been like poked in the back and stabbed.
With a ski pole.
Yeah, you find out the ski pole.
There's a ski pole that's...
And she picks it up and then sees her sister sitting next to the fridge with blood all down her face.
That's where all the food is.
And she gets the ski pole and points it at her sister's neck and then at her head. And you think...
I thought she was going to poke her in the head.
And then eat her sister.
I was bracing myself for giving her a jab in the face.
No.
She finds her sister slumped by the fridge, and she's in almost like a catatonic daze. So initially she's angry, and then she takes her and she kind of cleans her of all the blood.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of stresses
but it just confused me this bit, because you think, oh right, she's trying to clean her up so she won't get done. Maybe
she'll remove the evidence. Yeah,
maybe she'll take it on, or she'll hide the evidence or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
But then from that it cuts to a sister being in prison.
Yeah, I agree, because it suggests that they're going to try and avoid getting implicated with it by cleaning her down and removing all evidence. And then the movie shifts forward as the family visits her in juvie. Oh, because obviously she's been put away for killing Adrian. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird thing, but I think it's just generally one sister taking care of another. Yeah. So I don't think it's necessarily that bit. And she's been put away for eating people. And obviously,
so it says on the subtitles.
Well, the French Rozzers may also try and finger her for the nibbled drivers as well, is what I put. But one of the guys had his fucking face eaten off, so you're going to trace the teeth marks back to.
And also, we didn't explain that earlier on. So when her sister jumped out, Justine walked off and didn't want anything to do with it. So probably Alexia went, "I'll scoff all this fucker."
Yeah, I just said this will probably be explored in Raw 2.
Alexia Boogaloo.
Yes. When they try and pin all the other murders on her.
So anyway, her sister's locked up, and then her parents are there, and as they go in, her sister goes, and you've drawn a picture with her trying to give her the finger and all that.
I quite like the fact that the sister gave her the finger, and then she put her cheek to the glass that she bitten a chunk out of. I quite like that between the
So they'd eaten
sisters.
each other a little bit there.
Which brings me on to the final scene. A scene that some say the film doesn't even need. So let's walk through the final scene then.
Right, well, it's a scene across the dinner table, isn't it?
Back at home with the family, Justine sat with Dad. The mum's gone off somewhere. And then they start having this kind of intimate conversation where the dad reveals to Justine that it's not their fault.
Yeah, it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, I don't think, but it's hereditary. Yeah, not the film.
Simply put, the dad says that the cannibalism, that it runs in the family, and it's a condition that the mum suffered with as well, that he had to try and manage. And then it ends with him saying, "I'm sure you'll work it out, cheek chops." I'm sure you'll work it out, Justine.
He opens his shirt and shows all the
nibble marks.
Yeah, monster munching on him.
Nibbles.
Yeah.
So then Justine's horrified, and then it stops dead, and that's it. The end. That is the 2016 movie Raw.
Are you going to give me a quiz now or something? Are we not doing that anymore?
I gave up with that because you don't.
What?
All right, what's your favourite?
Why
because if I ask you now, you won't burp. All right, what's your favourite ever horror? Death.
Tell you what, I was watching a video about Deadly Friend the other day, and it's such a fucking terrible film.
You heard about the basketball?
Yes.
Yeah.
It could be that. A horror, proper cheesy, shitty death.
Yeah.
Because it makes no fucking sense. It's the lady out of Goonies, who's a great actress, and I forget her name. Ghost fell in for me.
Phil Woke. If we're talking about cheesy deaths, I still think David Warner in Omen 1 with a sheet of glass.
Oh, it's shit now though, isn't it?
It doesn't matter. Well, look, cheesy death is cheesy. It doesn't have to look great, does it?
No, true. What fucking hell?
Woo! Woo! Have we got any others?
Yeah,
Deadly Friend in the Omen. There's obviously and then there's other stuff, isn't there?
Right. Well, I think we got two smashing ones there.
Let's review the film. Mark it out of 10. Not get to the point. Let's review the film.
Tony, let's review the film. Raw. What is it good for? That's took me 2 weeks now after we did Raw. What is it good for? Let's review the film. So, Tony, Raw, what is it good for?
Absolutely.
Say it again.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's almost an art film.
Borderline
an art film.
Yeah.
But,
Which is not a problem.
No.
Really? No?
Well, it depends. It is definitely a horror film, and it's gruesome in parts.
I thought it was going to be worse. I prepared myself for something that was going to be a bit...
You were probably comparing it against, like, Frontiers and
maybe.
Martyrs and all
maybe.
that lot. That was probably... Probably it was probably a little bit worse than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
mainly because she's pulling the skin away from the bone of her girl, but
sisters.
Yes, yeah. No, I thought it was really good. Repeated watches? No, it probably wouldn't be. It's not like it's not like an Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 where you go, this is one of the best films and I'm going to watch it every year.
Repeated,
for whatever.
Yeah.
I think I might watch it again, maybe, but not in a mad rush. But it is a good, solid, and it is a horror film. Don't worry about the subtitles. A little bit arty, but it's still, one of the better horror films out there. And it was worth watching in the end when I finally got round to it. So, I'm giving it 7.5.
Okay. Good stuff. I'm a rather old-fashioned horror fan.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Where's this going?
I want a bit of simple gore, some cheap thrills. So I wasn't sure what to expect with this, but it actually does keep you engaged for the 90 or whatever minutes. It explores a lot of subject matter in a different way to a lot of films, including cannibalism. It's more of a coming-of-age film, isn't it, really, I think? The cannibalism bit's kind of...
I'm going to say, I did have a bit of a problem with the ending being a bit obvious.
I got...
It was hereditary in the family.
Yeah.
Which now I get it, you kind of know from the start.
Yeah,
really,
it looks good and it's well shot and there's a good soundtrack. I like the soundtrack. But I was a bit confused because in a film that's kind of crammed full of metaphors and symbolism, and there is a lot throughout it, some of which was probably lost on me. But then the ending seemed to suggest this kind of like family secret. The ending, I think, it lost its way a bit at that end bit, and I think that kind of let it down.
Yeah.
So I was ready for kind of giving it 7 kind of more, but I think that bit, I just didn't like it. I just didn't get it. So for me, it was 6. Oh. It was I enjoyed it, but I think that bit played on me a bit, and I didn't get it. It wasn't. It kind of ruined it slightly for me. That whole bit was bullshit.
Yeah, maybe it was trying to put some kind of twist that was too obvious at the end.
I don't think
didn't know how to end it. I didn't.
And again, I always say this with a lot of these films: they should just kind of just leave it.
Right, you made me rethink mine. 7.
So that's it. So that's Raw. Yeah. So 7, 6.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's worth watching.
It's worth watching. Yeah, no, it's not a bad film. And we probably said it's a bit arty in that, but it's still a horror film, and it's still a good horror film.
The fact that there's arty bits shouldn't put a horror fan off.
No.
They should still give it a try, and they'll still get something out of it. So that's it. Yeah, thank you for listening. That's great. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks, everyone. And if you've got any ideas for future films, get forward.
Horror movies with TNA. Yeah, tell your friends.
Philosophy, as well as anthropology, is a discipline concerned with what it means to be human, and hence with investigating the multiple ways of making sense of human life. An important task in this process is to remain open to diverse conceptions of human beings, not least conceptions that may on the face of it appear to be morally alien. A case in point are conceptions that are bound up with cannibalism, a practice sometimes assumed to be so morally scandalous that it probably never happens, at least in a culturally sanctioned form.
questioning this assumption, along with contention that the very conception of a human being involves a prohibition against consuming human flesh, and explores how cannibalism can have an intelligible place in a human society. By coming to see this, we are unable to enlarge our conception of the heterogeneity of possible ways of being human.